State Department spokesperson Jen
Hi,
Psaki.
Jake.
Jen, good to see you. So, Jen, a major company was hacked and essentially shut down for some time. Now Americans are being threatened by these same hackers with 9/11 style attacks at their local movie theater. Is this cyber terrorism?
Well, Jake, I think it's important to separate those two things. One, we take the cyber attacks very seriously. As you've mentioned in your reporting already, there's an ongoing process, and the national security team has been meeting about what to do about this. The second piece about threats against movie theaters, we've looked into that. There's no credible intelligence to back that up. But cybersecurity is serious. It's one of the biggest emerging threats we face, and not just as it relates to this case, but broadly, we've seen it from other countries. It's something we work with the private sector on, and will continue to be a big priority for this administration.
But Americans were threatened by these same hackers, and they obviously wreaked havoc on Sony's hardware and the operations of a major company in this country. Is it cyber terrorism? If not, what does one have to do to be considered to be cyber terrorists?
Well, I don't think there's any benefit in putting new labels on it. It's a cyber hack. We're looking into who's behind it, and we're finishing up that process, so we're working to do that, and we're discussing a range of options. The fact is, there are private sector companies that have been hacked by a range of sources. The government was recently hacked, and this is something we take very seriously, and we're having ongoing discussions about how to address.
How concerned is the Obama administration about the precedent being set here? A movie is put out, another country's leaders don't like it, the company is hacked, Americans are threatened, and basically, at the end of the day, the American people blink. The United States backs down.
Well,
isn't that a horrible precedent?
I can assure you, Jake, the United States government is not blinking. We're not backing down. We're not in a crouching or fear position here. We're well aware of the cyber threats from not just North Korea, but other countries out there. The fact is, businesses, including movie companies, make business decisions, and that's up to them to make. Private sector companies make their own decisions. That's the beauty of the private sector in the United States. But we're going to continue to speak out. We believe in freedom of speech, expression, that actors and actresses should be able to continue to do that.
How much did the State Department or the Obama administration more broadly advise Sony on this film? There are reports that you viewed it, the State Department viewed it before it was released or prepared to be released. And what have you said to them more recently? I can't imagine that the U.S. government would want an American company pulling a movie from theaters, from this dictator in North Korea.
Well, Jake, we've been in close touch with Sony as we work, the FBI and other appropriate law enforcement agencies have been, as we work to track down the perpetrators of this, and we've offered a range of services to them. Broadly speaking, we're not in the business of signing off on movies or content. Imagine if that was the case. That's not what we do in the United States. And we continue to convey that we believe in freedom of expression, whether that's the media or whether that's artists in a movie.
But did anyone at the State Department see the movie ahead of time and give an opinion as to whether or not you thought this might set off this international firestorm?
I have not come across anyone who saw the movie in advance. It is a normal part of the process for us to consult with the private sector, including movie companies, to talk about issues in the world, and we're certainly the experts on that, and that happened in this case as well. But no, we don't sign off on the content of movies.
Jen, is North Korea really capable of pulling this off on its own? Doesn't the level of sophistication with the attack, with what was leaked, the follow-up threats, doesn't that suggest a more sophisticated nation that might be involved?
Well, Jake, we've learned a lot over the past couple of years about how cybersecurity threats work and come about, and they've come from a range of sources, some small and some larger. And certainly part of the investigation has been looking into the capabilities and capacity and what they could do, and that's a process that's ongoing right now.
What is the U.S. going to do if it is, in fact, North Korea that did this? I can't imagine there's much left to sanction.
We do have a range of sanctions already in place, given their abysmal human rights record and a range of rhetoric and threats that they have made. We have a range of options. Those are being discussed by the national security team. I'm not going to outline those from here, but I'm sure that's something we'll talk about once there's a conclusion made.
State Department spokesperson Jen Psaki, thanks and
Jake.
happy holidays to you.
You too.